What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Haze Demon Show. And today we're gonna be showcasing the tier list for Sci-Fi theme. Can you dig it, baby? As we are gonna be going over every single card and where I think, in my opinion, where they belong on the rankings. I have been playing in Legendary for over a year, longer than that, a little longer, over a year. Yep, and so my view on cards is a little bit different than somebody playing in Bronze or even Silver League. I'm just looking at the majority of cards leveled, like level 3 Legendary, 4 Epic, 5 Rare, and 6 Commons. And I'm also looking at how well the card is able to do work all on its own without any support from another unit. So without further ado, let's go ahead and go right ahead and dive on into this bad boy. Hope you guys enjoy it. Let's check her out. We've got Alien Collide and the D category. This is a common 3-cost fighter with a war cry. Shoots poison at a random enemy. This used to be one of my staples of my main deck, as the poison is actually really good. It has a lot of damage. The problem is that it is random who it hits, and he doesn't exactly have a lot of health, and he doesn't have a lot of attack scaling into the late game. So, but the poison can be very good at weakening down on a tank, or if they have a ranged unit that they started the game off with, you can hope that you can hit the ranged unit with poison. But either way, the poison overall is very good, but the body is weak. I do enjoy the card, but he is in the D category. Up next is going to be Alien Drone, who got some recent buffs only but a week ago. This is a 4-cost epic fighter with a war cry, summon a robot vacuum. This card would have probably been in the F or the E category if it wasn't for the recent buff that doubled his health, its health, and increased the health of the vacuum, the Roomba that it spawns. This card is actually a counter card more than anything. It counters Witch Doctor Token's healing ability. It counters Labar Jimmy's max health decrease and DSR's max health decrease. It counters poison. It can't be poison. It counters mind control. It can kill Cyborg Kenny, and it can't be hit by Mecca Timmy or mind control. It also cannot be cock magicked. This is the most important thing of all for Alien Drone, is being able to be a card that you can put onto the field, and then your opponent can lay down whatever, and then you just cock magic, and this card is going to still be Alien Drone, including the Roomba too. So for these buffs and its counter, it actually went into the C+ category when it would have before would have been E or F category. Up next we have the Alien Queen Red, who I put into the S tier category. It is a rare 5-cost fighter with a war cry, throws alien eggs at enemies and poisons them. This poison can not be very quick at first, but once you get into level 5 and level 6, the poison can do quite a bit of damage. She has an okay body as well for the 5 cost, but the main thing is that you're just killing your opponent's back row and weakening down their tanks or whatever in the opportune moments. She can make a huge difference in whether your opponent is able to make a push or not. Yes, her ability can be purified, but Purify is such a smaller circle, and she hits the entire field with poison. Her war cry is so fast, it's almost impossible to stop her from being able to poison everybody also. So she is a very good card. I should have been using her since the beginning of the game, honestly, but I've kind of avoided her for whatever reason, but she is most definitely an S tier card. We have up next Astronaut Butters, a common 2-cost assassin with a death wish. Speeds up his closest ally or leader for 4 seconds. The death wish is actually pretty good if it hits a assassin and it's unchecked. That other assassin is going to be able to do some really good damage with the boost for 4 seconds. However, his attack is really slow. His attack is the lowest, or his attack and his health, I believe, are the lowest of all assassins. There may be a few different, but of the majority of like the meta assassins, they will one-shot Astronaut Butters and he will not even be able to hit back because he has such a slow attack. He actually used to be a part of my main deck also, but that was whenever it was more of a common meta, and he actually had more health than all the other common assassins. Now he doesn't have more health, and he doesn't attack he attacks last, almost guaranteed. So he is definitely lower than he would have been back in the days in the D category. Up next we have Awesomo 4000, who is in the A category. He is a 5-cost epic tank with a charged ability, freezes nearby enemies with a cosmic stomp for 4 seconds. A 4-second freeze AoE around him is huge, as well as his health is very high. He walks very slow so that you can build a push behind him, or allow your opponent to push onto your side, potentially. A very good card, a pretty good amount of health, okay attack, but the main thing is that he's a fat body with a good freeze ability. Definitely slotting him in that A tier. Here we have up next is going to be Bounty Hunter Kyle, who is a 3-cost epic ranged unit with a flying ability. He gives attack boost to all enemies. When he hits an enemy, heals all allies when he kills an enemy. So he had recently got a nerf to his attack, I do believe it was, and his health. It may have just been his health. So it's easier to get him killed. However, this card is really good for 3 costs in that he can stay alive by just flying. And he boosts up all units. He doesn't have to boost up only other ranged units. He can boost up, you know, fighters and whatnot. And tanks especially would be good for him to get boosted up. He boosts up everything, right? Except for the new kit, of course. His attack is really small, so it is kind of hard for him to get his healing ability off, which is kind of weird for the character. It doesn't really make sense why he has a healing ability at all. But it is still a pretty good ability, and it can come in clutch to heal somebody and keep them alive. But the main thing is that he's flying and he boosts up all your units. He does kind of rely on other units to do the job, but he is a very good support card for sure. In the B category, up next we have Cyborg Kenny, who is a 4-cost assassin, epic assassin that is, with a death wish, heal, and control this unit's killer for 10 seconds. We have him in the C+ category. I had to check just to make sure. The C+ category, because there is a lot of AoE abilities, and Medusa Baby can instantly kill, not instantly, can negate this ability, this card's ability. So it is pretty easy to counter his mind control. However, not always the case. His mind control is actually 2 seconds longer, or is it 3 seconds longer than mind control, the spell itself, for the same cost. So you have the potential to do damage, which he's a epic assassin, so he has good damage and he has good health. The thing is just that people will look to counter this card since he has the mind control, and not only that, it can be purified as well, and then of course Alien Drone just doesn't even get affected by it, but that's not really the point. Again, The mind control can be negligible. However, there is times where that mind control is absolutely insane and can save games. So we have him in the C+ category. Up next we have Enforcer Jimmy, which is a 2-cost rare fighter. We have him in the S category. He is one of the most powerful 2-cost cards in the game. His aura. Nearby enemies cannot charge, as in they cannot use their abilities, their charge abilities, like Awesomo's Freeze, or Mecca Timmy's Mind Control, Witch Doctor Token's ability, Stand of Many Moons, any of them. Any abilities, and as you raise his levels up, his aura gets bigger and bigger, making it that much more likely that he's going to negate somebody's ability. He has good stats and a good attack, yet again, like I was saying, for a 2-cost fighter. So it scales pretty well. Obviously, he's not going to sit there at the front line and do damage and stop people from doing their abilities, because that's not really what he's for. You're in the middle of a fight and you see your opponent coming up with the charge abilities, you plop him down behind your other units, in between your units or whatever. Negating their abilities is huge. It will change the tide of the battle tremendously. A power bind in a body. Very good card all around. Anybody playing Sci-Fi should be playing that card. Up next we have Four-Assed Monkey, who we have in the C- category. He is a 3-cost assassin with a Death Wish. Explosion damages up to 4 random enemies. This card is better than Astronaut Butters simply because he has better health, he has better attack. The Death Wish is not very good. I mean, maybe at lower levels, the Death Wish is more likely to finish off opponents, but there's a lot of times where it just doesn't really do a lot of damage. So maybe there needs to be a buff on his Explosion. However, because he attacks with his Butte, he has longer range than most of the other assassins in the game, potentially enabling him to hit them first before. So he has the potential to compete with other assassins. The only thing is that he's a 3-cost. If he was a 2-cost, he would definitely be higher tier than Cyborg Kenny, in my opinion, because of the stats and the cost, of course. Efficiency and less liability, but 3 costs lowers him down. Like I said, the damage is good. His attack damage is pretty good. The explosion, not so much. Up next, we have Freeze Ray, who we have in the C+ category. Freeze Ray is a 3-cost common spell. Freezes enemies in target area for 4 seconds. Every time you level up this card, it increases its its area of effect, but it's very, very small of a difference. This card relies on other cards to do their job. You have to have strong enough cards to attack while things are frozen. However, this card can freeze in critical moments, like during a Satan being spawned, or just Moraine and Craig, you know, something with the war cry abilities that they're about to do, or even a unit that's about to use a charge ability. You can stop them, and hopefully, I mean, if you set it up right, you can kill them before they can become unfrozen and use their ability. You can also freeze the new kid. So if your unit only has a sliver of health and you freeze them, and you can surprise your opponent into doing damage and taking a candy bar. Freeze Ray can support any kind of strategy, honestly. And with it being 3-cost, it's not very risky to use. I mean, you can waste it, of course, but that's with any spell, right? So we have the card in the, can I move it? Yep, there, the C+ category. Gizmo Ike is our next card in the F category. This is an epic Assassin 3 cost unit charged ability splits into 2 Gizmo Ikes. They have done a ton of buffs to this card, and yet it is still not worthy of being an epic card. Maybe if it was a 2 cost, it would go up like 2 tiers. But every time that you use Gizmo Ike's ability, he splits, and his clone has half the attack and half the health. So they become weaker and weaker. And there's so many AoE abilities in the game, area of effect, right, that can kill this card before he even gets started. And even if you've got a dozen Gizmo Ikes on the field and they use an AoE ability, they're all dead. They don't have enough health. The attack is actually pretty good for the card, since he's an epic card, Assassin. So I mean, if you were to ignore the charged ability and just use his attack, the attack is pretty good, but it would be better if he was just a 2 cost than if you were just using him for his attack. But there's way too many AoE attacks in the game that this card gets killed before it can do anything, before it can do its job. Alright, so up next we have Hyperdrive, which I put in the C- category. It is a 4 cost rare spell card, doubles the speed on all allies for 6 seconds. The only reason why it's lower than freeze is because it costs 1 more energy. They basically do the same job, but in a different way. I mean, obviously, speed, you're going to be able to run, move across the field faster to get to the new kid. But if you are in the middle of a fight and you were to freeze or you were to use Hyperdrive, it's almost the same effect because you're out DPSing your opponent in a critical moment, right? Hyperdrive used to be OP along with Astronaut Butters because there was a glitch or something that made it to where when you were hyperdrived, they would attack extremely faster. If that effect was still in play, this card would be the #1 spell card in Sci-Fi, just because of that one glitch or bug. But because they do attack a little bit faster, but they don't attack as fast as they used to, the spell 4 cost, it does find itself to be lower than Freeze Ray. It's C- category. Up next we have Sniper Wendy, who we put in the E category. She is a 3 cost rare ranged unit with a charged ability. Freeze 3 enemies within range for 4 seconds. Again, 4 seconds is very good. The problem with this card, not only does she not scale very good, so her attack and her health is not very good, her charged ability is really, really slow to activate. And then for people to be in the range, they have to be like, I don't know, it's weird how her ability works. It's not like Captain Wendy's where she can hit people behind her, I don't think. I can't remember actually. But it just takes too long to use her freeze, and her stats are not very good, don't scale into the late game. The freeze is nice though. The freeze is nice. In combination with other freezes or status effects, she can do good, but she requires, you know, a lot of setup, and she has no damage to be able to compete with other ranged units. In the E category indeed. Next we have the Moraine Craig, who is in the F category. This is a 4 cost common ranged unit with a war cry. Poisoned enemy leader and close by enemies. The poison against enemy units is pretty much useless. It's really small amount of damage. The damage to the new kid is so-so. I mean, if you're doing a chip deck, maybe that would be the right way to go about it. But the problem is that he's a 4 cost. He has very low stats, health and attack. His range is very low. That's another thing I meant to mention about Sniper Wendy, is her range isn't very great either. So no good attack, no good health. and his ability is not very good. So maybe if he was a 2-cost card and did exactly the same thing, he might be a lot better. But with 4 cost, it puts him in the F category. Up next, we have Mecca Timmy, who we have in the A category. This card is a 4-cost legendary ranged unit with a charged ability, control the nearest enemy for 3 seconds. I think that seconds will actually go higher as you level up the card. He has good range, pretty good range really. He has good health, he has good attack, and his ability can delay units from being able to kill himself, or you're just getting your opponent to kill each other, or even to mind control a unit and hit their new kid and their unit get hit with the NK blast. It's all very good. The only problem with this card is that there's a ton of ways to kill him, and people are not afraid to kill Mecca Timmy. Hook Hand Clyde can one-shot this card very easily. Lightning Bolt can kill this card very easily. Obviously, Transmorg, Unholy Combustion, Cock Magic. Powerbind is not a very good option with Mecca Timmy because of him being a ranged unit. It's a very good possibility that he sits behind units that are fighting for a long enough time that Powerbind disappears, and then he's able to use his ability, and at that point you basically wasted your power bind, because most of the time when you power bind a unit, you want to be able to kill them before the power bind is up. Otherwise, you didn't really use it as well, I guess. I mean, you can hit Mecca Timmy, but maybe it's better to hit Mecca Timmy with something else sitting next to him with the power bind. But again, the card has amazing stats and is a 4-cost legendary card, so we put him in the A category. Very good card. Next we have Mind Control, which is going to be the best spell card in Sci-Fi. It is a rare 4-cost spell with the ability to control a target enemy for 7 seconds. So Cyborg Kenny can control him for 10 seconds, but that's if they kill him, and then he can be countered. Mind Control just does its job. The thing is, it can help you stall out to defend. It can mind control critical units that can absolutely destroy your opponent's push, or at least delay it tremendously. I don't really like using any of the mind control cards. I mean, Mecca Timmy's different, but Cyborg Kenny, mind control, not really my favorite cards. However, mind control can come in 100% clutch if you're using it on Stand of Many Moons, or if you're using it on Dougie. Any Dougies, any Headhunters, or whatever. The only problem is that if you mind control a Dougie and they purify that Dougie, you will have no way of countering it, because most of that time that's going to be your lowest amount of energy. You just barely get the mind control off, or whatnot. And if they have Purify, it's over. You have no way to stop the Dougie most of the time. But Mind Control is very good overall. Good card for sure. We have up next is going to be Poison, which is going to be the worst spell in Sci-Fi in the D category. It is a common 3-cost spell. Poison enemies in a target area. The poison meta was so good back in the days. Everything just getting melted away by the purple syrup. However, now that the damage that poison does not scale into the late game of South Park Phone Destroyer. You may be able to get away with using it a lot in Bronze and Silver League, but as you get into Gold League, it is just not going to do the damage that you need. There is a lot of units that it can kill one shot, you know, but overall the spell just doesn't do the job it used to do, or it needs to be able to do. It just requires a lot of other cards to weaken units before you can do anything with it. It does have a pretty decent area of effect. Up next we have Power Fist Dougie, which is the most powerful Dougie of them all. He is a 4-cost assassin, rare assassin that is, headhunter with a freeze, with the ability to freeze enemy leader with the first strike. Before he got a buff, he was only able to freeze the new kid. Nowadays, he is able to freeze all the units around the new kid when he hits them. So this card doesn't even need support like the other Dougies. All the other Dougies, they need a shield, or they need somebody to protect them, right? But this card literally protects itself. It is a very power fist card, and can easily change the tide of a game in a matter of moments, because the speed that it goes from the midline to the new kid is so small, it gives your opponent very small chance to fight back, and then they might not even have the right card to counter, which will get frozen. So a very good, powerful Dougie, the most powerful Dougie of them all, easily put him into the A category. Up next we have Program Stan, who we have in the B category. He is a 3-cost epic fighter with a charged ability, freeze, and damage all enemies. His damage from his freeze is very negligible. It does good, I guess, if you want to say. It kills rats and it kills pigeons, but they're not really an issue. It does not kill chickens, they have too much health, but Program Stan does have really good health and attack that scales into the late game, and you can use this freeze in very clutch moments, again, with all freezes, to stop war cries like Satan or Ink and Craig. Ink and Craig would be a little bit harder to do, though, I'll be honest. Or if your unit is charging head-in like any kind of the Dougies, any headhunters or whatever, you can freeze them from the back side of your field, because it freezes the entire field for 2 seconds. I wish it was 3 seconds, but for 2 seconds he freezes everything. I actually thought that they would have buffed his freeze time a long time ago, but they never did. But he has very good stats, very good health for the 3 cost that he is. All around, very good card. B category. Up next we have Robo Baby, who we have in the C+ category. She is a common 3-cost ranged unit, and it says whenever Robo Baby kills an enemy, her speed increases. I don't remember exactly how many it is. I think if you kill 6 units, she's at her highest speed that she can attack. Her range is good. She can sit outside of the new kid. Yes, she sits outside the new kid range, and the speed is so fast she can instantly take a bar. If she gets built up, she just demolishes units. She does have a problem in that her health and her attack is not very good, but once she starts to get her speed up, she can be unstoppable. Even with a little bit of buff of something else of sorts, she can be very good. I'm just not a big fan of Robo Baby. I find the other Bebes to be more efficient, but she can come in clutch with that speed boost that she, built-in speed boost that she has. It can surprise units. It can demolish units. Up next we have 6th Element Randi, who would have actually been lower on the list if it wasn't for the recent Roomba buff, the units that he spawns. He is a 5-cost legendary fighter with a charged up ability, pukes, and summons a robot vacuum. His charged ability is a little bit slow. It's not too slow, but it is a little bit slow to get out. But the Roombas are very tanky. They have an okay amount of damage, but the Roombas are very tanky, so that kind of helps him out a lot now. However, my problem with him is that he just doesn't have enough health. The reason why he doesn't have enough health is he's not a tank. I keep wanting to think he was a tank because he's a 5-cost unit. I kind of compare him to like Awesomo since he's a 5-cost unit. And sometimes the battles are won by who has the most health on their big units. And 6th Element Randi does not have the health. However, if this card is unchecked, his attack is assassin level. He has kicks. The kicks are kind of slow, but when he kicks, it does a lot of damage. So he obviously, being a legendary, he scales really good into the late game. His health just seems a little bit low, a little bit lacking. But the Roombas being buffed up with their health does make up the difference. I would have actually put him in the B category, and Awesomo would have been in the A category alone between the two of them, if it wasn't for the Roomba buff. But now he's pretty good. A little bit better, I mean. Up next we have Space Warrior Token, who we have in the C- category. He is a 3 cost rare fighter with a charged ability Rush and Strike at the nearest enemy. His attack and his health is okay. It's not very good, but the charged ability can be clutch for real. If your opponent doesn't have any units on the field, he turns himself into a headhunter and will go straight to the new kid. And if your opponent is not prepared, he will instantly take that candy bar. No doubt about it. But for 3 costs, he's not bad. He can fill in a good spot in the deck. The only thing about Space Warrior Token that I find being a problem is that the other tokens in the game are so much better, except for the Adventure Token, who is easily the worst one. But Rogue Token and Witch Doctor Token are hard to compete with for Space Warrior. But Space Warrior does find his spot in the low cost, low average deck cost kind of decks. And again, his charged ability does really good. Can come in clutch. And next we have Visitors, who are in the C- category. These cards would have been in the F category if it wasn't for their recent buff. They have no ability. There is 2 units. They are 3 cost rare ranged unit, and their thing says Visitors from another planet. Again, before the buffs, only a week ago, this card would have been way down at the bottom because they do not have the health, they did not have the attack, and they do not have the range. Right now, they buffed them up to where they do a pretty good amount of health, a damage. They're pretty fast attacking, actually. Since there's 2 of them, they're pretty fast attacking, and then they can be boosted up double by anything in the game. The problem that I find with them is that their range is not very good. They are within the range that the new kid zap will kill them, and they don't have enough health to really be able to survive new kid zaps. They can technically shoot faster than Robo Baby and do more damage than Robo Baby, but Visitors are, you're gonna get, they both can be AoE'd, so I actually don't know what I'm saying there. I just do think that their range does make the difference between them and Robo Baby. If their range was a little bit longer, outside of the NK Blast, they would be better than Robo Baby. But for now, they're in the C-. Again, they would have been in the F category if it was not for the buffs, so that is pretty awesome. The same thing with Drone would have been in the F or the E category if it wasn't for the recent buffs. So they got pretty lucky. Here we have one more card to go, and it is Warboy Tweak, the 3 cost rare ranged unit with a war cry. Speed up all nearby allies for 2 to 4 seconds. This card doesn't really have that good health or attack. However, they did do some recent buffs to him to where he used to be 4 cost energy. So if he was still 4 cost energy, he would be easily at the bottom. I really hate that they have his war cry being random. Why is it between 2 and 4 seconds? Just make it 4 seconds and be done with it. The card doesn't need to have RNG into it. That's right, random number generator, whatever. It doesn't need RNG. It just needs to be a flat number, and that's it. Or like, you know, level up. As he levels up, he gets a faster speed boost. He does have long enough range that he can hit outside the new kid. So if everything happens and all your units die and your opponent's units dies and he's the only one left, he's going to be able to put in some damage on the new kid. But he relies on other units doing their job. Other units have to be strong enough, otherwise the speed boost doesn't do anything, right? So he is in the D category, and that is going to be the tier list for Sci-Fi. Thank you all so very much for checking out the show. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. Let me know what you guys think about my tier list and where you may have wanted to switch some cards up. But that is my opinion of the game. Sci-Fi fantasy is my favorite themes to play together. And next week we will be doing the fantasy tier list. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and a subscribe and a comment down below. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Don't forget to bring a towel. Peace out.